Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhidiritam Kalma Shapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaatatam Bhuvi Gnantiye Bhurida Jana. Let us resume our discussion on Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual discourses with his intimate devotees at Shampukur house in North Kolkata on 18th October 1885 with the recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. It appears in the 20th chapter of the third volume of the original Bengali presentation Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, under chapter 122 of the Hindi translation Sri Ramakrishna Bachanamrit, and under chapter 45 of the English rendering the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We will be discussing one sentence of Sri Ramakrishna about the secret of the incarnation of God. He said that to M, that please communicate this message to Mahendralal Sarkar, who feigns himself as the scientist. He is a great doctor and who doubts about the incarnation of God. God appears as human being again and again in this world to set up a model life so that others can replicate and become free. Now, there is a great debate that how God, who is infinity without bounds, can be born as a human being in a finite form. Now, this cannot be intellectually established, how the infinity becomes finite. But a phenomenon cannot be ignored either. That our history shows that there are certain individuals who have come to this earth with extraordinary capacity, like Ramakrishna, Buddha, Sri Ramakrishna, etc. So it has been said that God is almighty, so He can, if necessary, condense Himself into a finite human form and behave as a human being to teach the other humans how to become free. So this has been reconciled in the Vedanta, saying that God, being infinity and being without any birth or death, so His birth is an appearance, not a reality. So that's what they say, that God is not born, but He appears to have been born. So that is the reconciliation Vedanta makes. But then what is the purpose for His coming? There are various purposes, as have been said, that to establish the righteousness, to destroy the wickedness, etc. Here, Sri Ramakrishna gives another explanation. He says, He who liberates is an incarnation of God. जो तारण करते हैं उसको अवतार कहलाता है. एक नया व्याख्यान दिया, न्यू एक्सप्लेनेशन. पहले हम लोग कहते थे जो अवतरण करते हैं उसका अवतार कहलाता है. अवतरण मतलब फ्रॉम हेवन ही कम्स टू गॉड वर्ल्ड. So this avataran coming down in the human level. But here he says, it's not avataran, it is taran. जगत जो जगत को सृष्टि को तारते हैं, उद्धार कर लेते हैं, उसी का अवतार कहलाता है. Now this about his role of liberation of this world has been explained by Swami Vivekananda in his hymn of Aratrika Sang. So once there are two verses where this Taran word has been used. First of all, we have discussed in the last that he liberates by giving everybody refuge in his holy feet. भाष्यर भव सागर चिर उन्मद प्रेम पथान भक्तार्जुन जुगल चरण तारण भव पार. He is Elohim personified, and yes, if the devotees take refuge in his holy feet, they will become liberated. This we discussed at length. Again on the verse 5, Swami Vivekananda says, Bhanjana dukha ganjana Karunaghana karma kathor Pranarpana jagat tarana krintana kalidor. That he has offered his life, he has sacrificed his life for the sake of redemption of the world. This has to be understood. वो तारण करते हैं, और तारण करने के लिए उनके कितना मूल्य चुकाना पड़ता है. How much he has to sacrifice. In order to he sacrifice his life so that the world can become liberated. जैसे कहा जाता है ईसा मसीह, Jesus the Christ, he accepted death, crucifixion, so that by this act the people who were still in the threshold, whether they should devote the entire time for the world or for time for the God, so they are at a dilemma that they see the total sacrifice of Jesus the Christ when he was crucified, but he had no word of condemnation to anybody. Rather, he asked mercy to his killers. He said that they do not know what they are doing. Please forgive them. This is what we have read in the history. But now comes a person in the form of Sri Ramakrishna, whose life, because we already discussed it, continued from there, his life is dedicated for the services of the world, and for that he has suffered to the maximum. So it needs a thorough study of his life. Unless you know his life, we will not be able to understand how much sacrifice he has made. So what is the use of this study? In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam jo mam vetti tattvataha tyakta deha punarjanma noiti mamiti sojuna. The persons who have given up everything but he is studying my life, janma karma and my doings. those who have studied and understood my life, and my life means previous lives, the incarnations of God, then what happens, when they leave the body, they are not born again, they become eternally free. So that challenge has been tapped, then we can reshuffle our life. Now here, when we study the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we find that it is hardly possible for anyone to go through so much of suffering. We become surprised. Now, every incarnation of God has gone through tremendous suffering for no fault of their own. Take for example, the life of Sri Ramachandra. He was a born prince of Ajodhya, and he, instead of being honored, though he was banished in the forest for 14 long years, barefooted, with his dear brother and wife. So, think of the intense suffering, pain he had for 14 years exile from his kingdom, for no fault of his own. उनका कुछ गलती नहीं हुआ. Just to honor the words of his father, he went away. And when he went, he was subjected to various adversaries. Then he had to do a lot of fight, and finally he has to invade Sri Lanka and recover his wife. So this was the type of suffering Sri Ramachandra had for what? For the redemption of the world, jagat ko kalyan ke liye. Every incarnation he find, you take up the life of Sri Krishna. For no fault of his, he was taken away just after he was born from his natural parents, Devaki and Vasudeva. He was being brought up by some stepmother, away from his own parents. From beginning, he was subjected to various adversaries. They tried to kill him by sending different demons, but he squarely handled them. And finally, he was little adolescence. Then he was sent to Mathura and he had to fight with Kamsa and all that. And whole life is a bunch of sufferings of Bhagavan Krishna, every incarnation of God. The latest incarnation is Sri Ramakrishna, and the amount of suffering he had beggars description. From the very beginning, he was born in a very poor family, and then he lost his father at a very young age. Then after that, being a child, he had to take care of his mother and other people, and being a great financial crisis, his elder brother, Ramkumar Chakravarti, came to this Calcutta in search of job, and he brought his brother also, Gadai. From a very young age, he was subjected to various services in order to maintain himself. And then he was engaged a pujari in Dakshineshwar temple, and the rest. And there he went, and then they had a period of sadhana. The description, what it is written, is beyond imagination. How much of suffering he had in his spiritual practice. The whole body will burn like fire. Then somebody said that oil didn't work. It's all divine incarnation, the divine experiences. But it's a total bunch of suffering. 6 months he could not take anything after Dinaka sadhana. So one should study the life of Sri Ramakrishna and find out that how much of suffering a human being can make. He has crossed everything. So having crossed, and then But his intention was not fulfilled. His intention was to share his spiritual treasures with young people. So definitely some old people who would come to Dakshineshwar would come and meet him, but he was not happy. Then he said that, I believe that my job will be done by the youngsters. For that he would climb up the stairs of the Kali temple, and then he used to call aloud, where are you? Oli, come, I cannot live without you. My ears are burning, hearing the worldly thoughts and worldly discussions among these deserving candidates. But then finally they started coming. But then he was having a very weak health. So there was a person, Mr. Pratap Chandra Hajra. So one day he told Sri Ramakrishna that you are a yogi, so you can easily concentrate your mind on your body and you'll become healed. He had a great cancer, tremendous pain. Then, like a child, he went to Panchavati and made a prayer to the Divine Mother. Divine Mother came in form and said that you are a fool. Have you come to this world to enjoy life or to sacrifice your life for the sake of others? What is the purpose for your coming? This is the purpose of incarnation. So then Sri Ramakrishna understood what is the purpose. His purpose is to lay down his life for the benefit of others. So when that was not possible, so he quoted this suffering and played to Divine Mother. Divine Mother said that please remember the purpose of your visit. Then Sri Ramakrishna acknowledged, if for the sake of at least one person I can lay down my life. जब वो हुआ था first of all he had a tremendous pain for his young aspirants. नरेन को देखने के लिए आप इतने व्याकुल क्यों होते हो? भगवान में मन लगाओ, इन सब लड़कों के विचार छोड़ दो. एक छोटे बच्चे के तेरिया श्री रामकृष्ण देव ने हजरा की बात मान ली और जब पंचवटी में पहुँचे वहाँ पर श्री माँ जगन्धारिणी काली माँ appeared and पूछा, तू कितना मूर्ख होए, शर्म नहीं आती? तू इस जगत में केवल अपने सुख के लिए आया है. जब श्री रामकृष्ण देव ने कहा, माँ अगर मनुष्य जाति के कल्याण के लिए मुझे लाखों बार दुख सहन करना पड़ते हैं तो खुशी में करूँगा. इस बात को ठीक 6 महीने के हुए और उनकी कैंसर हो गए. उन्होंने बताया, आई वांट टू सफर, एंड ही हैड कैंसर विद इन 6 months. वे मुश्किल से धीरे धीरे बोल सकते थे, भूख लगी रहने पर भी खा नहीं सकते थे. बैठते समय या सोते समय किसी भी अवस्था में पीड़ा से शांति नहीं मिलती थी. दिन रात शरीर में भयंकर जलन होती. इतनी भयंकर पीड़ा में भी उन्होंने, ये बात है, लोगों पर कृपा करने में कभी छुट्टी नहीं मांगा. उनके ईश्वर के मार्ग पर अग्रसर करने के लिए वो बंद नहीं किया. ऐसा करीब 1.5 साल तक हुआ. ये शूली पर चढ़ना नहीं तो और क्या है? व्हाट इज द शॉर्ट ऑफ क्रूसिफिक्शन? अंतिम, सुन लीजिए द टाइप ऑफ सफरिंग ही हैड. अंतिम 1.5 वर्ष श्री रामकृष्ण देव ने अपनी देह में जो पीड़ा सहन की थी उसका वर्णन असंभव है। अंतिम 6 महीने उनके नित्य का आहार था सिर्फ पानी, वो भी अत्यंत कष्टपूर्वक गले के नीचे उतार सकते थे। So much of suffering he had, but every moment of his life is engaged even at that stage for the benefit of others. कोई भी आगे उपस्थित हो जाता, बोलते हैं भगवान को कैसे दर्शन करेंगे, वो बहुत प्रसन्न होकर उनको बताते, जबकि उनको बात करने में खाने में इतना कष्ट है। ये प्रमाण कर दिया उनके जीवन सबके प्रति समर्पित है। अपना जो कष्ट है, अपना जो गम है, वो अपने ओर रखते हुए वो सबको आगे बढ़ाए। तो उनकी जो सार्थक त्याग है, उनके जो अतीव जो समर्पण, ये सब जगत को तारने के लिए। जब हम ये याद रखेंगे तब हमारा जीवन भी भरपूर हो जाएगा। We must remember the tremendous sacrifice Sri Ramakrishna gave for the sake of others, so that our suffering become insipid compared to his great suffering for no fault of his own. He is doing this suffering to redeem others, to liberate others, and that's why he is an incarnation of God. We will continue further in our next weekly class, which will be 2 weeks from now. Niranjanam nityam anantarupam bhaktanukampadhrita vigraham vai Ishavataram parameshamidyam tam Ramakrishnam shirasa namama. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishnaarpanamastu. Now let us close the topic with a chanting of the Lord. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Thank you.